You broke my useless D&D items. So I decided to contact some friends of mine to help fix them, though some may be beyond repair. 2 months ago, I decided to post a video showcasing 24 D&D items, and I got a lot of feedback from them. These items were abused by the internet, so I went ahead and contacted 5 friends of mine. Well, more like mutuals on TikTok that never talk to each other. So my message is, I recently made a video where I make useless D&D items. The internet decided to break half of them, and I want to make sure I get it right this time. I was wondering if you'd be up for giving me some suggestions for some of the items. I'll send that and wait for a response. Several days passed and nobody was really getting back to me. So I decided to help one of my coworkers from One Shot Questers, Jaden, and one of my clients that I thought would have some knowledge on this, Brandon the DM. So I have messaged 7 creators that I'm mutuals with that I thought would be a very decent help for this kind of project. Only 4 of them got back to me, and 2 of them said they would love to see it and love to work on it, but they never did. Jaden never got back to me about it. How dare he have obligations and other things he has to do? And one of my mutuals from TikTok, he just hearted it and never responded. How dare he? You know who you are. Just kidding, it's fine. Brandon got back to me about a few, and Eldritch Author brought in his expertise. I did not know this guy did this for a living. I honestly thought he made interesting TikTok lore and streamed video games. So that was an awesome surprise. Starting with the Ring of Teleportation. A ring that teleports to the wanted location but leaves the wearer behind. This ring cannot teleport anything but itself, so anything tied or attached will be left behind. My biggest problem with this one was people were teleporting it into people's vital organs and killing them immediately. You find a mysterious ring on the ground. It seems to give off a magical aura. I'd like to appraise it. It seems this ring will teleport to any destination, but will leave you behind. You can think of no good uses for this ring. Oh yes, I can. What? I teleport it into your brain. Oh shit. The Ring of Teleportation was specifically created so that you would use it once and then find out it just disappeared. It teleported itself, and maybe you find it in your adventure again, maybe you don't. It really wasn't a good idea now that I think about it, and honestly, I want to turn it into something where it teleports randomly to a random place. Brandon had some really interesting insight on how useless this item could potentially be. Mind you, I have never looked at these items, so I'm very excited to see what he has for me today, even though he messaged me about it 9 days ago. Brandon says, turn the ring into a silicone ring. It's easily destroyed because it's just cheap rubber. Couldn't really cause damage if thrown or used as a weapon since it has no weight to it. Additionally, it can only be teleported into a space where the adventurer has been before and clearly can picture the location. But that wasn't useless enough for me. I needed something that was so useless, so stupid, that the player would throw it away immediately if they had an inkling of an idea of how useless it was. It needs to be teleported to an unobstructed in a random location. Eldritch Author went above and beyond with his notes. This dude not only gave me a brand new description, but he also gave me a well-written paragraph on why he made certain changes and how useless this item could really be. So Eldritch Author's insight on the Ring of Teleportation is, while you are attuned to this ring, you can spend an action to teleport it harmlessly to the surface of an unoccupied space you can see within 5 feet. It cannot teleport again until you finish a long rest. Cannot teleport until next long rest. Uses an action. To simplify his explanation, he is basically saying the more specific it is, the more limited it is, and that somebody on the internet is obviously going to try to break this. I'm gonna do my best to make sure nobody can break this. His last note is that attunement really does a lot to limit the variety of uses to a magical item. So what we're going to do is we're going to add 1 hour of attunement. He made some really good points, and if you'd like to read his full insight on these items, they will be in the description below. Going on to the Bag of Infinite Pebbles. You must take the pebbles up one by one, and it does nothing when it's flipped inside out. You cannot put anything inside the bag other than more pebbles. Anything that is attempted to be put inside the bag will act as if there is a barrier between the item and the entrance of a bag. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. This was originally one of my favorite items that I made, but now that I know people are using the barrier as a shield, or they're using the bag as breadcrumb trails, infinite ammo, etc., I am sorely disappointed in this item. With this one, Brandon had one of my favorite ideas. Instead, it is just one infinite pebble. You can pull the pebble out and use it for whatever you want. You can put it back in. However, it's just one pebble. If that pebble were to be destroyed, it conjures again inside the bag, but it's still just one pebble. One infinite pebble. That's great. I love that. So if you lose this pebble, it's lost forever. But if it happens to be broken, shattered, destroyed, it arrives back in the bag. Although Brandon didn't fix my main problem, it being used as a shield, he did provide insight on how useless this item could be if it were just a singular pebble inside the bag. So let's see what Eldritch Author has to say about this. This tiny burlap bag contains countless pebbles for the pebble lover. With a mouth of 1 foot in diameter and weighing 2 pounds, 1 pebble can be retrieved from the bag at a time, and only 1 pebble from the bag can exist outside it. If another pebble leaves the bag, the previous one vanishes instantly. Nothing can be put inside the bag except for the current pebble. Any attempts to put something else inside the bag is sped out harmlessly with a spitting sound. This could still be kind of like a shield, but it would be a 1 foot shield. That's this much of you. It still gives the opportunity for players to use it for traps, because it weighs 2 pounds, and to use it as the shield. Those are my biggest problems with it. His insight, basically, there's nothing you can do to make pebbles absolutely useless, which is just true, and I wish it wasn't true. I'll figure something out. So, you got 1 infinite pebble. It comes back to the bag after being shattered or destroyed. It is in a pouch to make it harder for people to use it as a shield, and it is 8 ounces, so it is much harder to use for traps. Just these small fixes made me feel a whole lot better about this item actually being useless or just really hard to use. Sadly, Brandon was only able to give me insight on 2 items. Onto Stone of Healing. It heals 1d4 worth of damage to whomever it's thrown at. When it is thrown, it deals 1d4 worth of bludgeoning damage before it heals. This item was being abused by barbarians with resistance to bludgeoning damage and bringing back down players. When you throw this stone at a creature, make a ranged attack roll. On a hit, the stone restores 1 HP and deals 2 bludgeoning damage. Creatures immune to bludgeoning damage cannot be healed by this effect. This absolutely limits the whole thing. His insight on this is basically saying people were reviving players because it would deal damage to them, and then it would heal them, which would just bring them back up. He fixed that, dealing the 2 damage instead of 1. Now it just heals before it does damage, because it brings them back up and then knocks them back out. He also says that it is very hard to make healing items useless, and same with anything dealing with damage. So there would be still a use for it. So this couldn't technically be useless, and it probably technically can never be useless. It is just fun. It's a stupid item, and I can't fix this, and I don't like it. It's okay. I'm not gonna scrap it like he says I should. I'm just going to go ahead and just call it a special item. As a special item, not a useless item, a special item. That sounds great. Last but not least, Heals of Action. As an action, touch your heals together to gain an action. People had a tendency to use this for rogues, or to create a sonic boom if they click their heels together 1,000 times in 6 seconds. I think those were really creative ideas, but I really had to get Eldritch Author's take on this, and he pulled through so fucking hard on this one. I will not be changing this description, no matter how useful players may find it. This is too perfect. As an action, click your heels together to gain an action. After activating this item 3 times in 1 turn, the heals disappear forever along with your feet. I can't beat that description. Basically, his whole insight is, this isn't absurd enough. Anything that we do to this, besides limiting it and then taking something from you, that's the best we can do. And I mean, it can still be used as a torture device. He also saying, what couldn't be used as a torture device. I took all these ideas and threw them into Photoshop using ChatGPT to help me with descriptions. But as some of you may have experienced, ChatGPT is really shit at descriptions, and it's trying to put pizzazz to something that does not fucking need pizzazz. Stop throwing in useless adjectives, ChatGPT! I do not need wondrous and luxurious descriptions, I just want some basic ass shit! That's all I'm asking! So naturally, I had to go in and fix it all. The new bag of infinite pebbles. This 5-inch, 8-ounce pouch contains a single infinite pebble. The pebble will always return to the bag if damaged. If undamaged, it needs to be placed in the bag. If anything other than the infinite pebble is placed in the bag, it harmlessly spits it out. The new heels of action. As an action, click your heels together to gain an action. Activating this 3 times in one turn will make the heels disappear forever along with your feet. The new ring of teleportation. This rubber ring requires an hour of uninterrupted focus to attune to it. While attuned to this ring, you can activate its teleportation ability as a full action while you are attuned to it. Upon activation, the ring will teleport itself to an unobstructed and unoccupied location, leaving the wearer behind. After each use, it requires you to take a long rest to use it again. The new Stone of Healing. When thrown, this pebble bestows a healing effect of 1 unit, and afterwards inflicting 2 points of damage upon its target. Its damage remains consistent regardless of any resistances to bludgeoning. I made sure to redo my old items as well to make them more presentable. All 24 of these items will be available on my Patreon for just $1 a month. It is all downloadable content, so you can print it out, share it with your friends, use it in your games, anything you want. As long as you're not taking credit. Click on this video to see all the useless items I created.